Hey everybody, Dave here from Dave Tries to Fix Stuff, the channel dedicated to the repair, restoration, and resurrection of broken stuff. And in this video, as part of my guitar series of videos, I'm going to take this jacked up, messed up Squier P bass that I picked up for $10, and I'm going to see if I can get it in good, working, playable order. Also see if I can try to make it look a little bit better too. So, want to see if I can figure that out? Stick around and we'll find out together. So real quick before we actually get started on this thing, I want to ask you that if you like what you see on the video, to please click subscribe below. Also click on the little bell icon so you can receive notifications for when I post new videos. I got a lot of videos that are going to be coming down the pike in the next couple of months. Lots of projects that I'm going to be working on. So I'm trying to get these things out at least every 2 weeks. If I have the time, I try to get them out every weekend. So if you want to know what's coming up in the next episode and all that kind of stuff, you can click the little icon, get a notification. It'll let you know that I got a new video coming in. And special thanks to everybody out there that's already subscribed. I notice a lot of you are actually watching the videos within a day or two of me posting them, and that really makes this all worthwhile for me. So thanks for that. But let's get into the video. Okay, so like I said in the intro, this is a Squier P bass. Picked it up for $10. You can see why. It's, it's not functioning at all, missing parts and pieces and all that. It's filthy. But I think it's got good bones. I think it'll be good as far, oops, sorry about that click. I think it'll end up being a good player once I get everything done. The neck looks to be like it's in good shape. Everything needs to be cleaned real good. I've got new hardware for it, including a new, easier to do this. I got a new bridge for it. I've got a new pick guard. I've got some, these are from like a mid-70s American-made Fender P bass. A friend gave these to me. So I'm not even sure if these things are functional. I'll be testing those out. If they are, I'll be using them. If not, I've got these. I've got two other sets actually of pickups as well that I could use. I got new tuners because these tuners here, as you can see, these things are not, loose. These two are both loose. These are not. But I'm also going to, because of all the chips and the paint and nastiness, I'm probably going to be stripping, I'm going to be stripping the finish off of the body and getting that, it all depends on what kind of wood we have underneath this and how the stripping turns out. I don't know if I'm going to paint it or what I'm going to do to it, but I'll make that decision once I get all the paint off of it. I need to have a little bit of fretwork on the ends of the neck. And I don't know. I think this will turn out to be a pretty cool thing. So let me start everything off by getting this thing taken apart and broken down to its various pieces, and we will go from there. Regardless of what the frets look like on the top, the edges, because the frets are actually in pretty decent shape, but the edges do have just a little bit of sharpness to them. So if you take one of these guys and just at a bevel, just real lightly sand across them, you can take that sharpness off, and you can see you don't want to use a lot of pressure because you're going to be taking finish off of the fretboard. Yeah, that's much better. Okay. That feels really good. So, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a little bit of sanding right here on the end. Not a lot, just a little bit. This shows February 22nd, 2001. I want to be careful not to get that off either, but I want to, there's some gook on this thing that shouldn't be here that I want to get off. Okay, so there's that. Now, you know, talking earlier about the fact that I'm going to put the fender decal on the front. I am not going to, this is going to be my personal base. I'm not going to try and resell this thing, so I'm not worried about, like I said, I normally will put, you know, fun little logos on here. But I just have these for to do it. But I'm not going to try to pass this off as an actual fender. And you could see, I mean, it's upside down, but it says crafted in China. And as far as I know, they don't make any fenders in China. And I'm not going to remove that. That's going to stay on there. So anybody that's going to be, oh, don't put that on there, don't worry. This is not going to get passed off as a fender if I ever resell it, which I don't really see myself doing. I think this is going to be in my collection of guitars probably until I die. And, you know, or I just get sick of it. But even then, I'll let somebody know it just has a Fender logo on it. It's not actually a Fender, so. So you can see by putting some mineral oil on it that it's going to replenish the oils on it. Now with this thing right here, I was using the coarse stuff, and then I went to a medium, and then I went back and hit it with the fine. So it's probably right now about I would think 320 to 400 is what this is right here. So it should be good. I've got this Minwax Golden Pecan. It's kind of my go-to color when I want to redo this stuff. And I'm pretty sure I'm down to bare wood on all this. If not, I'm sure there's some sander sealer on this. If that's the case, yeah, I think it should still accept the stain though, so. And it's not really going on all that evenly. You can see how it's got like spots right there and some little, globs and stuff. It shouldn't look like that. So I'm gonna let this dry for a bit. I'll come back and do a little more sanding on it again, which I hate. And we'll pick it up from that point later. I think while that's drying off though, I'm gonna work on the body a little bit. Okay, so this is something I don't normally do indoors. Something I normally do outside. But if I'm being 100% honest, I don't feel like setting a camera up out in the garage or out back or anything. So unless this presents problems for me in doing it right here, I'm gonna do it right here. But I'm gonna be using a heat gun. I'm pretty sure I'm fairly certain this is just a normal polyurethane finish, so it should come up with a heat gun without too much of a problem. The trick is, you don't want to keep it in, directly one spot for too long. You kind of want to do this as you're doing it to try to keep, work on an area. I usually try to like about a 4 square inch area. And if you do it right and it's the right type of finish, it should basically just start to bubble and pop, and then it'll come right off. And then you can just use a scraper to kind of scrape it up off of there. Here we go. You'll start to see it kind of bubble and burn a little bit. See it? Starting to bubble right there. And that's when you can start to kind of take it off. You want to be careful, especially if you're using a metal blade putty knife like I am, that you don't gouge into the wood. You can see I got a scratch right there. You want to be careful of stuff like that. The other thing I want to show you is you do end up getting these, and these are not they're not light little things, those are gouges. And that's what I want to try to avoid as much as possible. This is like a sander sealer that's still on here, that's what I'm getting into. And the good thing about that is I can do a real light sanding on this afterwards and get some more sander sealer and put it over that to fill that in, and it should fill it in pretty decently. But there's no guarantees that that's going to come out. I might have to sand all the way down to the wood anyway on this, so that's why I want to be really careful when you're doing this. Yep, so obviously you heard the smoke alarm go off upstairs, and that's another reason why we don't do this inside. So I'm now in my backyard, and I will continue on with this. So. So I've done this a couple times before, and I'm kind of noticing at this point that if I actually heat up an area real good and then take the heat away and let it cool, it tends to chip up a lot easier. And I think the mistake I'm making is actually trying to go in and like superheat it and take it off while it's superheating. But I think what I'm going to do from here on out, I'm going to see how it works if I actually just heat up a section, let it cool off, and then come back and actually try to scrape it up after the fact and see if that nets better results. Because like this right here, I did that way, and I don't know how well that's coming up on the camera, but this is a lot smoother still than this. This is like, I'm gonna have to do some serious sanding on the back of this thing to fix this, you know, the problems that I've created on it. But that's why I started on the back first, because it's been so long since I've done this, and I don't remember how I got a good result from it. So that's what we're gonna do. Yeah, that is working way better. So there's the tip of the day right there. Heat up the paint first with the heat gun. Heat up the area. Put the paint gun down, let it cool for a minute, and then you can scrape it off, and it seems to come off a lot easier. So let's do it that way. Okay, so I got the body all taken care of as far as sanding and all that. I actually wore through down to the wood in a couple of places here and up on the bout here. Went through the sander sealer and got it like that. The back is got a lot of that as well. A couple of spots where I left the heat gun on those spots a little too long and it kind of singed it. But so because of that, one of my initial plans that I had for this thing was to actually stain it. The grain on it is not a real figured grain. It's not a real attractive grain. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not lending itself to stain. But I figured if I use like an ebony stain, it would look really good. But since this thing is going to be a chore and a half to prep to be able to use stain and have it look right, I've decided I'm just going to end up painting it. So I'm going to end up having to get some fill in here, definitely in these tight corners and stuff where it kind of, I've got some spots here that are a little chewed up, and along the back I'm going to get some probably just some Bondo glazing. The stuff that comes in a tube is like a premixed Bondo, and I should be able to just kind of put it in these areas and, you know, just with my finger and get that all smoothed out, then do a little more sanding. Then it's gonna be a few days. The reason I didn't want to do painting it first was because it takes a long time for the paint to cure to the point where you can actually come back and sand it and put the clear coats on, sand that, and actually get it buffed to a nice sheen, nice shine on there. And I just don't, I mean, it's going to take days, probably at least a week to go through all that. And I was thinking about doing the staining because I could get that to cure a lot more quickly. But since I've kind of painted myself into a corner, no pun intended, with what I've done with this, that's going to be my only option at this point, is to paint it. So at this point, I realize that the video is going to be going a lot longer than the length that I like them to be. I want to keep them under 25 minutes, even under 20 minutes if I can do it. And I know right now that's about where we are with this. So this is going to be where I call this video part 1, and I'll be back with a part 2 when I get this thing finished, and hopefully everything will turn out good on it, and it's going to end up being good. But either way, again, please click subscribe if you like what you saw. Click the notification icon down there, and I will see you next time on Dave Tries to Fix Stuff. Thanks again for watching.